Alrighty, it looks like mostly everyone has audio, so we can get going. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today for the webinar on the Small Grants Program. We've had a lot of interest, so it's nice to see so many people have registered and are kind of excited to get going on their applications. My name is Heather Weissner, and I'm the Great Lakes Coastal Processes and Hazard Specialist in New York Sea Grant. I'm being joined by a couple of New York Sea Grant staff, as well as Emily Sheridan with DEC, and they'll help me answer your questions at the end. I do have everyone on mute right now. We are recording this webinar, so if you know someone who couldn't make it and would like to watch it later, we're going to try to post it on our website. And at the end, again, you can ask, you can just chat the questions. So can everybody, I'm sharing video. I'm assuming everybody can see my screen, so we'll just hop right into it. First, I'd like to go over the timeline. The proposals are due by September 23rd at 4:30 p.m. Please keep this date in mind because the website that you'll be submitting your proposal to won't accept proposals past the specific time, so just keep that on your calendar. We anticipate notifying successful applicants the week of October 31st and anticipate the contracting to be completed by early March 2017. And the projects must be completed by August 31st. The Small Grants Program is made possible by the New York State Environmental Protection Fund and Article 14 of the Environmental Conservation Law, which is the Ocean and Great Lakes Ecosystem Conservation Act. And the Small Grants Program is intended to support stakeholder-driven efforts to restore and revitalize the state's Great Lakes region and to demonstrate successful application of ecosystem-based management. And ecosystem-based management is an integrated approach to resource management that considers the entire ecosystem, including us humans, and the elements that are integral to the ecosystem and how it functions. So I'm going to pull up the action agenda, which can be found on DEC's website. And I'm going to hand it over to Emily Sheridan, who's with DEC, so that she can go over these principles of ecosystem-based management that we request you kind of follow as you go through your application, which I'll get into later. So Emily, I'm handing it over to you so you can walk through ecosystem-based management for us.
Thank you, Heather. So through the Great Lakes Action Agenda program, we have held work group meetings and Great Lakes Action Team meetings with stakeholders and state agency partners. And through these meetings, we have come up with a checklist for the principles of ecosystem-based management and how to apply these principles to projects in the Great Lakes Basin that I'm going to review. The first one is the place-based focus, and we would ask, is the project focused on a particular place with natural rather than political boundaries, such as a subwatershed, an abatement, a habitat, something along those lines. The protection of ecosystem structure, function, and key processes, we would ask, does the project consider the health and integrity of the whole ecosystem rather than focus on the needs of a single activity, species, or interest? The interconnectedness within and among systems, does the project consider the interconnectedness within the ecosystem, such as the interactions among species, human interactions with the environment, and or among adjacent ecosystems such as air, land, lake, etc., and at various scales? The integration of ecological, social, economic, and institutional perspectives. Does the project assume that humans are part of ecosystems and together form a social ecological system? Does the project consider how it influences, benefits, or impacts and is influenced by the local environment, community, economy, and current management institutions? Sustainable use of the ecosystem. Does the project sustain the goods and services that healthy ecosystems produce, such as food, water resources, wildlife habitat, etc., without eroding future ecosystem capacity to produce? Stakeholder involvement. Does the project include the participation and or consider the input of stakeholders, such as decision makers, management entities, advisory groups, user groups, etc., and or the target population served throughout the planning and implementation process. Collaboration, does the project include support coordination and or collaboration among various stakeholders, management entities, and project beneficiaries? Scientific foundation for decision-making, does the project use and or produce scientific information to inform decision-making and management actions? And adaptive management, does the project use or generate, including feedback from monitoring, information that can be used to modify management decisions as the project unfolds, improve project design and outcomes, and better inform similar efforts in the future? In addition to these principles, through our work group meetings, we have developed sub-basin work plans that can be reviewed to determine what the priority actions are for each of the sub-basins that these work groups have identified, and I would encourage you to email myself to request any of those sub-basin work plans, or if you'd like to get involved with our work groups that we generally hold quarterly, our next work group meetings will be held in September or October. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Emily. This call for proposals is, in general, designed to promote local projects that lead to larger activities described in this action agenda. And the grants program is anticipated to be available on an annual basis depending on funding. And each year, new priorities will be identified. This year, the goals that we've identified are Goal 5 and 7 of the action agenda. And here on page number 25 of the action agenda is Goal 5, which is to conserve and restore native fish and wildlife biodiversity and habitats to achieve and sustain resilient ecosystems and vibrant economies. So you really want to check out the action agenda to pinpoint the goal. So this is Goal 5, and if you scroll down, you can see priority actions that have been identified, and this goes for Goal 5 to page 30. So when you're looking at your proposal and you're looking at your project, it might be good to look at these specific actions and strategies that have been identified as priorities and kind of hit those as you're applying. And then Goal 7 is the second goal, which is to enhance community resiliency and ecosystem integrity through restoration, protection, and improved resource management. And again, the priority actions are listed on pages 34 through 36. So these might just be a good guide for you as you walk through your proposal. Okay. So proposals may not exceed $25,000, and we intend to fund 8 to 10 proposals at a total of $200,000. Eligible projects may include project planning, design, and or implementation, as well as information management tool development, demonstration projects, and targeted outreach and education initiatives. So these are just a few examples as they support Goals 5 and 7. So these specific areas here, aquatic connectivity, vulnerable landscape and habitat conservation and or enhancement. These could include wetlands, shorelines, floodplains, natural infrastructure and or nature-based shoreline protection, riparian restoration, green infrastructure, and stormwater management. So these are the specific areas. Again, full proposals must be submitted by 4:30 on September 23rd, and they must be submitted to this website. So if you click on this link in the RFP, it'll bring you here, and you click on this one, and it'll bring you to this site. So this is important. On the left here are all of the things that should be submitted. There's an application components checklist to kind of help you walk through it and make sure you have everything that's needed. So this is kind of, in general, the RFP. This is the full RFP. And if you scroll down and click on the Apply Now button, you get to this page, which is monitored by Lane Smith and Paul Ficasio, so their numbers are on the bottom here. If you have problems, you can also email or call me. So this is kind of what the application page looks like, and I'll go through all the different application components in a second. So if we go back to the RFP, I just want to mention really quickly the projects are if you notice on the timeline, they should be completed within 18 months, so just to note that. So as far as the proposal format goes, I'll walk through what you need. So you need a cover sheet, and let me pull that up. So this is something that you can download from that left-hand side on the website, and it's just your project title, your project lead. If you have a project team, who else is working on this with you? The duration, it can extend to 18 months. The total Sea Grant funds that you're requesting, up to $25,000. So this is just the basic cover sheet for us to kind of get a good summary of your project. The second thing is the goal and focus checklist, which is this guy. We just ask that you check one or the other goal or both if your project hits both goals, the specific area that your project focuses on, and the ecosystem-based management principle that your project applies, and it can apply all of them, some of them. And we just ask in your proposals that you discuss how your project addresses these EBM principles. So this, again, this is a sheet to help us kind of summarize your project. The project description, we ask that it's no longer than 5 single-spaced pages. This doesn't include the cover sheet, the goal and focus checklist, and some other documents that I'll walk through. So it's important that you identify the action agenda goal and the specific action that your project addresses, your project summary, goals and methods, your objectives, EBM principles, who's working on the project, and then the project location. So this pot of money is for New York's Great Lakes Basin, and if you click this link right here, it'll bring you to this map. So everything in green is eligible. I've had a few phone calls with people who were wondering if their project fits. So if you go to that link, it'll show you this map, and you can kind of see where you are. As far as personnel and partners go, we just ask that you list the key personnel involved in the project and identify the project lead. And if you could include a brief biographical sketch for the top 3 personnel. If you don't have a top 3 personnel, just provide the top at least 1 and 2 if you have 2. So those are just some things to include: the name, address, phone, email addresses, and these also don't count towards a 5-page project description. So if you scroll down, we get to letters of support. So general project letters of support are not required, and they won't be considered in the evaluation process. We do ask that if your project is on municipal land or private property, that you do get these kind of letters of support, permission to do the project on these lands. So please don't submit any general letters of support. And we just want to note that if your project does take place on private land, that you make a point to demonstrate the broad public value. Again, a timeline, so kind of what's the schedule for your project. These don't count towards the 5-page maximum, as neither do the letters of support. Just to include the tasks, project measures, and deliverables in your timeline, and please limit these to 1 page. The budget justification kind of hits on the budget categories that are in the budget form that I'll show you later. Just kind of walk through each of these, and these don't count towards a 5-page maximum either. A cost reasonableness statement. This is not the same as the budget justification. This kind of walks through and tells us how you came to the cost that you did and how are they appropriate. For example, use market rates or competitive salaries. So this doesn't have to be too lengthy, just kind of walk through how you determined the costs that you determined. Again, do not count towards a 5-page maximum. So the next thing is the 90-4 budget form, which is this sheet. It has 3 tabs. It just kind of walks through year 1, year 2, and then a summary. So if you have any questions about filling this out, you can contact me and I'll help connect you. Jean Ann Johnson, who's on the line with Stony Brook, can probably help you more than I could with this sheet, but I can connect you and give you her contact information. So after that is the 90-2 project summary form. Let me click on. That's this one. So just fill out the highlighted areas, the efforts for your project lead and your project co-lead, your objectives, methods, and rationale. So this is just something that we would we need as from Stony Brook. So just very briefly, additional requirements of the successful applicants, a certificate of liability insurance, audited statements, permits, documentation of ownership and public interest in property, and municipal endorsement. So those are for the successful applicants. Now we'll go to how will we be evaluating your proposals. So obviously you have to link to either Goal 5 and or Goal 7. How does your project integrate EVM principles and the degree to which they integrate, your project integrates them? And Emily walked through those, so I won't do that again for you. The appropriateness of your project's defined outcomes and deliverables and your defined goals, and whether or not everything can be completed within the 18-month contract period. Prior experience of the team, the budget appropriateness, the project location. Obviously, it has to be within the green area on that map, within the Great Lakes Basin. The potential inclusion for an outreach component, opportunities for implementation of the action agenda, and the degree to which project opens up doors for future related projects. So those are some of the things that we're looking for when we evaluate those projects. If you have any questions about these, or if you're wondering if you're hitting these goals, just call or email me and I can help you walk through them. So just a quick note about funding guidelines. A contract between Stony Brook University and the selected recipients must be signed before a purchase order will be issued. Jeanine can get into that in more detail if you do have questions. We require an application for reimbursement, including receipts, and quarterly progress reports and mid-project and final reports will be requested. So that's the end of the RFP. We're here at the webinars. I can start accepting questions, and if I can't answer your question right now, I will email you the answer. I have all your emails from registering. So if you have questions, please use the chat box. You can send to me or you can send to everyone. So I'll wait for those questions to come in. And if nobody has questions today, that's okay too. This is my email address. You can email me or call me. I think my phone number is in the RFP. Well, I'll send you my. Okay. If anybody has questions, though, my email is up on the screen. My phone number I sent to you in a chat. It looks like a lot of you we've already talked before, so you do have my contact information. But I want to wish everyone good luck with writing their proposals, and I'm always free to talk. Oh, we have a question. So someone asked, are there any limitations to equipment or supply purchases? Let me open up the spreadsheet. I want to say I don't believe so, but that might be a question more for Jean-Ann. But I think we're having a little bit of difficulty getting Jean-Ann unmuted. So if Jean-Ann, you can answer that more precisely, you can chat that, or I can connect you to afterwards. Okay, so Jean-Ann wants to know what kind of supplies from Joanna. not sure. Like monitoring equipment for water quality, are there any limitations to that type of supply, monitoring equipment? Jeanette says, computers get tricky, but all else is okay. Sorry about your phone, Jeanette. I can't figure out how to unmute you. So tablets or equipment that can quote-unquote walk might be a little hairy, it seems like. Sampling equipment is okay. Alrighty. I don't see anyone else typing. I'm not sure if this actually shows me if anyone's typing, but you can send your questions to me, and I will connect you with the person that can answer them if I can't answer your questions. So I want to thank everyone for joining me, and thank you, Emily, for giving the presentation on ecosystem-based management, and Jeanne for answering questions related to contracting and budgeting. Again, contact me if you have any questions, and I want to wish everyone good luck. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather.